synth music.
Dun, dun,
So
dun.
good.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Over a Couple Drinks presents The Regulars. Tonight we're talking about a little thing on Netflix that is probably one of the greatest shows ever created.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. I found Riley. Whoop. I dug her out of a hole. She was hibernating.
South Florida.
She was hibernating because she was like, "Wake me up when Game of Thrones is back."
It's a long hibernation.
So tonight we're talking about Stranger Things, which, real quick, Jess, spoiler free. This is the end review. Like, if you wrote a review, everyone skips the end to see your like score and your like your last little blurb that's spoiler free. What do you think of Stranger Things?
That's what I think. I loved it. I'm a huge like horror fan and horror classic. Like buff, not really buff because I'm not too good at retaining knowledge, but I'm a big fan and a connoisseur, I guess you would say. And this really like tweaked my fancy because it wasn't like just horror; it was also like old school sci-fi.
Yeah. My spoiler free review is: go pause this video, go watch it. It's only 8 hours. We'll wait.
Don't worry, we'll wait.
We'll wait. Is that good?
Actually, we won't wait. You can pause.
Okay, so you're back now, right? Did that change your life? Did it? Because it was awesome. No, like you said, this movie, I call it a movie. It's basically an 8-hour movie. It's
the only way to watch it.
It is the only way to watch this. Like,
or else you'll be thinking about it the whole time.
This is a huge love letter to 80s horror, and Stephen King and Steven Spielberg and John Carpenter. It's just that's what this is. This is a love letter, and it's so original at the same time that it's captivating, you know? Like, if you catch all the little subtle references to things, you're just like, yeah. And like, I didn't know anything about it other than like our friend said, watch it. And I was like, okay. And when I got to the main group of kids, I mean, the main group was kids, I was like, oh, okay. And I like watched them for a little bit, and I was like, they're like the perfect mixture of the Losers Club from It and the Goonies.
Yes.
And that's exactly how to describe them. That's the music is all beautiful synth.
Oh my god, the soundtrack.
And like there was only like one or two performances throughout this whole show that kind of irked me. And that says something when you're dealing with, like, 12-year-olds.
Right. But at the same time, like, holy shit, that's a heavy show. Like, that's a lot to put on a cast that is, like, 90% made up of children.
Yeah, and, like, my two beefs, and we'll get into it in a minute, is just really minor stuff that would have been better with, like, a tweak in direction. Nothing on the kids. Absolute nothing. They just started falling into habits that you kind of get annoyed at as an actor or as someone watching a film. No, the girl who played 11, fan-fucking-tastic. She was awesome.
She's great.
She was. There's a reason why she stole the whole show. It just
yeah.
I can't describe it. We'll try to.
We'll try. But yeah, no, and it's great, and it's going, like, especially for, like, well, and I'll get on my own little soapbox, like, 11 kicked ass.
For real.
She kicked a lot of ass, and it's going with this, like, rolling theme in, like, media with, like, kick-ass female characters that we're finally getting, and it's not like people are making a big deal that, oh my god, a girl did a good job. Like, we're not getting that. They're just, like, subtly, like, slid in there, and they kill it.
And the thing is,
kill it.
You say they subtly bring it in there. Yet in this, since this is so true to the 80s, like, I literally, every time I was watching an episode and something came up, I had to fact check it to see if they did their homework. They did. But, like, I love that one point when she does something totally awesome, and, like, it starts, like, rumors start coming out. They're like, you keep disrespecting my son because he got his arm broke by a girl. And like that's actually what would happen in the 80s. This is true, and this is like at the same time you're just like, no, this is fucking awesome. Keep it coming.
Right.
So I don't know how we're gonna break this up because I don't. This is set up like a book. It's a real slow burn in many senses. Mm-hmm. But there's not a lot that happens in it, per se. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, tackle it like a movie.
You want to talk about it like a movie?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, I'm going to just knock off the things I didn't like right away because that's the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
Okay? One of the kids, Lucas, who was awesome, but he had this, like, for the first half of the show, he was only there to say 11 is a weirdo and not to trust 11, and it got really annoying because it didn't go anywhere. It's like every episode would be like, don't trust the weirdo, don't trust the weirdo, don't trust the, and like shut up, just write something different, give him a better direction, because this kid can do it, you know?
Right.
The other thing is Mike, the main kid, I noticed this at the very, very end, has this really bad habit of ramping up into his lines, where he starts shaking, going like this to deliver a line, where like he'll build up and then say it, and you're like, okay, that's a trope, cut it out, kid, you know? It's okay to go on it every now and then when you're, you know, worried or nervous or something like that, but he does it all the time, and he's like, shut up. The only other problem I had with the whole show was that, I don't know what you want to call these three groups of kids, the three group, I always call them the Losers Club, the D&D group, you know?
Yeah.
They didn't do anything. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they don't have their moment, which kind of bothered me.
Yeah.
Like, and it could have been very easy to do when they were facing off against the Demigorgon, because I refuse to call it the monster, I call it the Demigorgon.
Perfect.
They could have done one little scene that would have been fit with their character, because they're very smart, and they're in a science lab. They could have used a Bunsen burner to, like, warded it off with fire a little bit before Elle saved the day. You know, they needed their moment because they didn't do anything really.
Right.
And then those were my only beefs. Like, they could have shot it with because they were using a slingshot, which was totally, you know, a homage to it, and it was awesome. And it, you know, at the same time, it's not doing anything to this monster that can take bullets like what. But it would have been neat to see like them, like, because the monster. Can we talk about the monster too?
Yes.
So good, simplistic, and terrifying, and it was great. It would have been awesome to see them like nail a shot with a slingshot into its mouth, and it kind of stuttered back, and then they're like, "All right, hit it with the fireball," because that's what they would say, like, you know, shoot fireball, and it would like ward it off, and of course something would go wrong and nothing would happen, and Elle would still ultimately save the day and wouldn't undermine her character. It would just give them their moment, because the other groups had their moments, you know.
And I think that it would have flowed well as well. No, because like my dislikes are basically the same thing. I mean, and it would have flowed well. And like personally, because they're a D&D group, I would have liked to see some more of that nerdiness come out when they were actually fighting.
Yeah.
The Demogorgon, like, you know, like that would have. I mean, and you saw some of that come out with their troubleshooting and everything like that. But again, you're right. They didn't do a whole lot of anything.
Well, it would have been
at all.
Again, it would have been like one little line here or there that would make it really cool, with like the idea that if we found that Lucas was playing like a paladin or something like that.
Yeah.
Where Lucas would be like, I'm going to go hold him off. You guys get the fireball ready. And like, you can't do that. And he goes over with the slingshot, and like, you know, he's shooting it, and it looks like Lucas is about to die. He hits it in the mouth. It goes down, kind of like that, you know, that sacrifice moment, except he doesn't die, and that'd be really cool. And like, you guys get Elle ready, because then it would also be like a redemption arc for him for hating Elle so much.
Right.
That's it. Like, there's just the little one or two things that I really feel I'm nitpicking.
Yeah.
And
it's looking and it is nitpicking, because it's like it's looking for, I don't know, something for us to talk about where it's not just like, oh my god, it was so awesome, because that's, I mean, you're getting that on the internet everywhere at this point.
Yeah, and like believe the hype. When someone says it's good, it's good.
Very good.
Like, someone was like, be warned, the first 3 episodes are slow, their character building. I was like, shit, that's slow? I don't want to see when this thing goes fast then, because it was really well done. Continue talking what you don't like before we start going into the gush stream of what we loved.
Oh no, and that's, I mean, that was kind of it. Some of the character development was just like, but at the same time, that's very 80s as well.
Yeah, anytime something cliche happened, I felt like it
Yeah.
was more of a homage than like we're pulling out a cheap dirty writing trick, you know.
Beth. Is that the
Yes,
name of Beth? Beth. Poor
I
Beth.
feel real bad for Beth.
Beth was like it was like they wanted to go somewhere with that storyline or like prove a point or have something about it and they just
Nope,
nah, they're
nope.
we cast this person so we got to give her her moment and
Yeah.
she's gone and there's nobody's really upset about
Well,
it.
they have come out and said that she will. No, it's Barb, not Beth.
Barb,
Barb.
Barb.
Sorry,
Sorry.
close enough. um, Barb will have her. Barb will have justice.
Felicia, like
Felicia.
it was basically Felicia.
Barb will have her justice in season 2. They said that.
Okay. Well, I don't know how they're gonna do that, but like that was the part that just kept like coming out to me was like, and that was because everything else again it's nitpicky, but that was the thing I was like, but what about
Barb.
Barb? Like nobody, and even when like she died, like they confirmed that she's dead, like Nancy's like Barb, and then
Nothing.
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 No
Well,
mourning, no distraughtness, no like, my best friend got killed because I went to go like,
bang Steve Holt.
play some hanky panky and like I told her to buzz off when she was basically there for me to not I mean, let's be honest, a lot of us have been Barb.
Yeah.
And I think that was maybe that's the part that like I was like, come on, everyone's fighting. Like everyone is fighting for Will and like
Nobody gives a shit about Barb.
Barb, not even the police people cared about Barb or really her parents.
Well, I will say this: there was a little subtle things with Nancy about Barb. Like it wasn't outright, but if you looked hard enough, it was there. Like, oh, Barb's dead. We're gonna go get Will back, and she's like, I want to fucking kill the monster, and she kind of convinces Jonathan to go kill the monster. You know?
Yeah.
And then like at the end when Will comes back, and they have their moment, she kind of looks and goes, "But Barb's still gone," kind of thing, and she walks out of the room, and it's there, but it needed to be bigger. I will totally agree that it needed to be bigger because Barb was just Tanner. She should have just worn a red shirt the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything else you didn't like? Because I swear
No.
the gush stream is gonna come on.
No, because like that, I mean, like I literally just like sat there in just like fangirl mode the whole time I was watching it. And I didn't even think like it's a little, I thought it was a slow burn. I did not think at any point in time like it was a slow season or
No.
even a slow episode. It was like a book. Like it was very much set up like a book. And I love that part about it. Like,
Yeah, each episode is called the chapter, and like it feels like a chapter, and it really plays out like a Stephen King book. I mean, I'm still
Yeah.
coming off of reading a bunch of King right now, and it feels like a Stephen King movie. And like
Yeah.
you have elements from there, like Firestarter, a girl with powers, or kids are missing from like It, and you have the Losers Club, and there's just a bunch of little tiny. There's a bunch of tiny references in there towards everything, and I love it all. Oh my god, it was so good because it was never really in your face.
right.
That was nice. So can we talk about a character I didn't expect to love?
Yes. We can talk
Steve,
about anything.
the jockey boyfriend.
Yeah.
I kept expecting him to be classic douchebag.
Yeah.
Right off 80s rom-com douchebag character who like only wants to get in Nancy's pants and writes her off kind of thing. Never happened.
He had a great story arc.
Everything he did that was douchey was justified by actions and things that he saw.
Yeah.
Everything.
And like like in the end when he like comes into the house, like when they're trying to trap the monster and everything, I'm like, Steve, no!
Oh, don't do it, Steve, because I could totally see him killing him off there. But he, like, I was so shocked. Apparently, I just read this too, that he was supposed to be the classic douchebag, but the actor was so charmingly likable that they rewrote his character. And I'm like, awesome. Because, like,
That's cool.
it was seriously like, okay, he's just that kind of guy, blah, blah, blah. But, like, then he's, like, when Jonathan is a peeping Tom, he's justified to break the camera, you know?
Yeah, dude.
And he freaks out a little bit because Barb's missing and they're going to know and his parents are going to be pissed that he had a party there. You're like, that's a little high school, but that makes sense for him.
Because they're in high school.
Yeah. And like, even when he's like, Nancy's cheating on me, what does he do? He goes out and spray paints her name as a slut, you know? Makes sense. And then he has that whole redemption arc where he's like, no, that's not Nancy. I fucked up. And you're like, thank you for writing like a really rounded character here.
Right.
So good.
I loved it. And like, another part, like, I didn't really expect to like Winona Ryder, Nancy. I didn't expect to like her. Joyce.
Yeah,
Joyce. Sorry, my cheat sheet got wine on it. But I didn't expect to like her. And like I almost expected them to write it so that she was just obnoxious, but I loved it.
Well,
I thought it was great that like she's the only person that was like, really pushing for it, and she's crazy for it. But it's her son.
Well,
and like
that's
oh
thing,
my
like,
God.
This show was at times hard for me to watch as a parent. Just because you're dealing with a kid's runaway. I'm like, I don't ever want to go through that ever again. And especially towards the end when you see Jim Hopper, a character who I wrote off right away at the beginning as a dick, but he was awesome at the end when you find out what happened to his little daughter. I almost had to pause the episode a couple times.
Yeah.
Dealing with, a kid in the hospital. And I'm like, oh, God, this could have been me with Link. Oh, God, this hurts all over, But, like, that credits to how good the performances were.
Right. And it was just, it was genuine. It was genuine, like, maternal instincts and whatnot. And I loved her story arc and what she went through trying to get through the other side and, like, the connections and everything. And that was the first jump scare, like, for me, was, like, the stuff coming out of the walls. I think I actually screamed. And it was actually like kind of scary, and I was almost afraid that I was going to get nightmares because of it.
That's the thing, like this, for being a slow burn or a slow build up, all the horror is done so tastefully right that when that happens, you kind of go, oh, especially since at that point in time when that jump scare happens, you still don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Like, you're still trying to put pieces together, and, like, it's never overly confusing.
Still don't know what kind of show this is.
Yeah, you don't, like, everyone was like, well, what do you think of it? I'm like, I don't know the rules yet. Like, because monsters have rules kind of thing. Like, they have, like...
Right.
And I don't know what this is yet, and it's terrifying. Because at the same time, like, that first 10 minutes before title, when Will gets taken, so terrifyingly simple.
Yeah.
And you're just like... What is this? Because you never see the Demigorgon other than like a quick glance or.
And even then, you don't know if it's an actual, like that. And you're right. You don't know what there was a big factor of you don't know what the rules are yet. I was still trying to figure out for a while until you actually saw the monsters whether or not this was going to be a paranormal thing.
Yeah, you don't know. Like I started, like you started getting pieces and like that. There's only one time that I ever felt like the whole show forced information on you. And that was when you find out about Elle's background. Not like her getting her powers, but like her mom. When you find out about like, because they do this really, really bad edit that felt like corporate idea, not them.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, because she's off fighting the commies, and it shows cuts to Elle, and like using her mind powers and the show.
Yeah.
And like that is so not this show. Who put this in here?
Right.
Like,
how'd you get in there?
Who put it was totally like it felt for like a big budget movie for anybody who couldn't connect the pieces.
Yeah.
But if you're already like 6 episodes into this show, the pieces,
Right.
You kind of like you already had the puzzle pieces together because like when things start rolling and they outroll real fast, it never holds your hand. It says this is this, and you go, yeah, no, I put it together. Keep going.
Yeah.
Other than that scene. That was it. But like, so when you learn the rules, it is still terrifying.
Right.
And I guess we're gonna go into the Demigorgon now and the Upside Down.
Yeah, let's do it. Like, oh my God, the Upside Down.
I love.
Oh my God, the Upside Down. I love it.
I love how the gateways are organic.
Yeah.
When you deal with gateways or dimension portals, you're thinking like a rift in time and space or Stargate or bullshit. This was an organic take, and I loved it. Like, it's just like, nope, it's a tunnel made out of flesh. And you kind of go, what? And like, I wanted to ask you, what did you think about the Demigorgon's original home? Do you think he started in the black space? Because I don't think the black space that Eleven goes to spy on the commies and she first meets the Demigorgon there is the Upside Down. I don't believe that's the same place.
No. I don't feel like it came from the black space. I feel like it got pulled into the black space from a parallel universe. I think it's very much a creature of the parallel universe. And it like, you know, I don't even know if the Upside Down, I think maybe, like, in my mind, the Upside Down isn't where it lives.
No,
it's where it got pulled to. And, like, that conversation that Al, like, was forced, like, that encounter when Elle was, like, in the blacks,
that scene was so good.
This scene was so good, but I feel like it was almost like it was a crossover point, and it pulled the Demigorgon from whatever plane that it was on. Because if you think about it realistically, if it just lived in the Upside Down, then why all of a sudden is it lashing out?
No, yeah, I agree that the Upside Down was created when Elle touched the Demigorgon. That's why, because like it wouldn't make any sense for it to live in a place that was a upside down version of our place,
right?
And you get that sense because in the very beginning, or like 4 episodes in or something, when Nancy and Jonathan start teaming up, they talk about how it's only around this forest area. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of the show, you realize the Upside Down reaches the whole town, and I got a feeling that the Upside Down is growing.
Yeah,
that it didn't start. It started here, and then it grows to the whole town and keeps growing. So it wouldn't make sense for the Demigorgon to live there. I think the Upside Down was kind of when it became that, it was pulled there, and it was also because it's touched from Elle could rip portals into our world.
Right. And that's where that's how I took it.
Yeah, no, and that's how I took it. I just want to make sure.
Not even that it lived there. Like, I almost feel like it was trapped there and lashing out at the closest thing that it could find that it blamed for it.
Yeah.
And which is, you know, a very often story arc for monster movies. But God, it was just the imagery of the Upside Down, like,
apparently it was just and I got it too. It was just one big homage to Aliens.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was supposed to look like. With the eggs and like the organic matter all over everything, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I totally get that. You know, H.R. Geiger was here and he gave a stamp of approval and said, "Go fuck some shit up," you know. But I guess my only real beef with the Demigorgon is his big final showdown. He was all CG, and I wish he wasn't, because that scene with Elle meeting him for the first time was a guy in a suit, and it helped it out immensely.
Yeah.
Again, simple design, just really big, tall, humanoid creature that has a flower face of death.
Yeah. I think yes. I can agree to that. But personally, I like the human element of having a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
Like, it's so old school, and it gives you so much, so much to play with there.
Yeah, knowing something's there is more terrifying than seeing something totally outlandishly weird. Like, at the end of the day, give me John Carpenter's The Thing or the original Alien over, you know, any horror movie right now. Because if you can see it, you can touch it, and it's terrifying to look at.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, you know, and they talk about how they took Geiger's inspiration, how Carpenter did things, and how Guillermo del Toro did things, and like somebody else, I don't remember. And they go, what makes them weird is that they take something simple and just twist it slightly to make it terrifying. And that's exactly what the Demigorgon was.
Absolutely.
Like, when you see him, you go, that's scary. But when Elle first meets it and is about to touch its back, you kind of go, Jesus Christ, and all that is holy. Don't touch it. I'll get out of there.
No, I mean, that's the first. I mean, it really for me elicits like the same reaction the first time that you like see Alien.
Yeah,
Like
when it first takes Bert,
when it
yeah, yeah,
when
Bert,
it first takes screen time, like
yeah,
and then like
Bart,
they
Bert.
had that reveal, like, oh my God. But that's what
Yeah, because when you first see it, you just kind of see it hanging there, and it grabs. I want to say it's Bert. It's bothering me. I have to look it up now. I gotta look it up. It's bothering me. I'm an alien buff. It's terrifying because you're just like, what the fuck is this? And the same thing, applies. Like, we don't know the rules, and that's the great thing about this is like, I like that it doesn't hold its secrets close to the chest, but the wait is worth it in this.
no yeah.
Because there's not Brett. It takes Brett. The character's name was Brett when he gets killed looking for Jonesy, that fucking cat. But like it's nothing's too complicated in this. You're dealing with alternate dimensions and blah blah blah, but all of
Right.
it is explained so well that you never feel force fed.
Right. And that's hard to do, especially like with a general audience.
Yeah,
Like, you don't have a pre-established fan base. It's not based off of a book. You're just going to submit it to Netflix. And that there's a big risk there when you don't spoon feed people like the information.
yeah,
Some people might not get it. But luckily, like, I feel like their imagery and like their story and like everything was so clear cut that anyone could pick up on it. Like, my parents were watching it and they loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys got to watch this. And they were like already on it and they loved it too.
That's exactly it. That's fantastic. One thing I loved was that towards the end of the show, we had 3 groups running. We had Hopper, who we still haven't talked about how awesome he was. Hopper and Joyce, Nancy and Jonathan, and eventually Steve, and then the losers and Elle.
Yeah.
And I loved how at one point in time, all of them had certain information that led to the major plot, but since they never crossed paths, nobody was telling information. And then they crossed paths, and it was natural and it was unique on how they started working together, and it was very good. Like Jonathan and Nancy end up in the police station, and Hopper's trying to save face with his crew and says, "You're going to talk in my office," and Jonathan's like, "You're not going to believe me." And he's like, "Try me."
Right.
Hint, hint. Get out of here and we will talk.
Yeah.
And I liked it because you're following it and like, okay, we're talking about Hopper.
Go for it. Get it, Bill.
Dude I have a serious man crush that I realized he was in Suicide Squad and go, okay, he's now a bright light in Suicide Squad. But like he's, washed up sheriff, drunk, doesn't give a 2 shits in the very beginning of the episode. You're just like, okay, I don't know how I feel about this character. Cliche, lazy cop, And then things start happening and he starts taking his job serious. And he basically becomes John McClane of Indiana, where he's like, you find out that his daughter died of cancer. And after that, like, he got divorced and now his wife is married and has kids. And you're just like, okay, so that explains like the drinking and like all that. But then he like starts turning on like these New York detective skills. And you're like, you're a badass.
Right.
Like the moment changes when, I don't remember.
When he realizes that the threat's actually real.
Yeah, but like my moment that changed for me is the scene where they go to the cafe and the dude shot himself. The government killed him, and like someone goes, it's you kind of saw like one of his deputies is like, oh, you probably saw this all the time in the city. He goes, yeah, except in the city, it's just some random guy. I knew whatever this guy's name was. I knew him. We're friends. It's not right, and you're just like, oh
yeah.
You just get this tick of a character and you go, okay, and like he builds and builds and builds and becomes on par with Elle for me on how good he was. Like he didn't steal the show as much as Elle, but he became like anytime he was on screen I was like, yes, we're gonna get some awesome Hopper.
Yeah.
It's just awesome throughout. I loved him to death, and we haven't even talked about Elle yet.
Elle's amazing. She's like really amazing, like really, really amazing. And at first I was like super skeptical, and prepared. I was prepared to be let down. I'm going to be completely honest.
Oh yeah.
And like even in the beginning, and I just thought like, well, put a pin in that. The E.T. references.
Okay, that pissed me off when I realized what it was. Because like, damn
Like
it.
the sleeping, like oh my, I laughed out loud and like at the multiple like she was treated like ET, and I'm just giggling about it like an idiot, like, and I'm like that's I mean, but it's cool, like it's fine, but like let's keep this girl in the basement in this blanket bed thing and keep it from mom and dad. I'm like this is ET, and but then it was like just it was weird because it's a human. Like with ET, it was
It's a
and I
Muppet.
guess like yeah, it was a Muppet. With ET, it was like a Muppet, and I don't know. I dug it. That
Oh
was one
yeah.
of the references that I really dug like a whole lot. I even though like it was a giggle. It was like a hee 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 hee.
I was like, I know what you're going for ET, but people are like, oh, it's a reference to ET. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Elle's a girl. I got defensive. It's him like,
I'm a real boy.
you leave Elle alone. But like, she had these little tiny moments that really stole the show when like they're trying to dress her up,
Yeah.
and Mike starts putting makeup on her, and she goes, like putting like blush on her. She's
Yeah.
like, stop it, and you're just like, that's a natural reaction. Thank God for doing this, And
Yeah.
small things like that really made her character. I read a bunch of behind the scenes about her too, and it was hilarious because they wanted to shave her head and she didn't want to do it because she's 12, and the little girl
Right.
doesn't want to shave her head. That makes sense. So you know what they did? They showed her Mad Max Fury Road.
I did not know that.
She saw how badass Charlize Theron was and went, okay, I'll shave my head. And I'm like, congratulations, girl, you are on par now with Furiosa.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I want,
Right.
I want every like little girl to go to Comic-Con with a shaved head and that like pink dress now, and just
Right?
be like, fuck, that's Elle, And like apparently the other thing that I found out that was hilarious was during Mike and Elle's kiss at the end, when as soon as they yelled cut, she goes, "That's kissing? That sucked." Because that was her first kiss. And I was like, oh, god damn it, that's fantastic.
That's amazing. I'm gonna have to look up these videos,
I just,
like, or
oh,
these stories or something, because I love that shit.
yeah, like,
That's funny.
she stole the show in very subtle ways, because, like, she had the whole Kurt Russell soldier problem where she only had, like, maybe 5 or 6 lines.
Yeah.
But she makes it work awesomely.
She had great facial expressions and just like her
When she
her
said something.
innocence isn't just like it's not just like a young guy. Like she really nailed it, like on that almost like alien end of like just not grasping culture.
Yeah.
And it was great and authentic. God, it was so authentic. She's so talented. Like she's gonna go hang out with Lady Mormon later in like
The kick-ass
in the
and chew bubblegum.
fanverse. Yeah.
It's like...
If there's a loser club, then there's a kick-ass little girl club.
For sure, for sure. Like, she needs to just be chilling there going, what's up? Mormont and her are going to take over the fanverse.
Yeah,
Hands
right.
down. She didn't say much, but when she said something, it was important. And I
Yeah.
really dug that because she would do this, like, whisper. Like, a whisper kind of talk where she's like, no. And you're just like, shit's going down.
Shit's going down.
Because you don't grasp it right away. You're like, oh, she's just whispering. But later, like, halfway through, when she starts saying shit, everything stops. And you can start to see it. Like the boys are like, Elle's saying something. What the fuck she say? It's like, boom. Demands attention. And
Or
it
like
was-
after. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Like after they kicked her, after they like kicked her out of the group, and then she came around to like save the day with like the bullies and everything. I'm like, yeah, and like she just kind of like, pfft. I'm her battle scenes or like her interactions with like the bully, like in the gym, like when she makes a guy pee his pants.
Yeah.
Or like when they were out on that dirt road and they're trying to like,
Breaks his arm. Totally.
yeah, like I'm like, this is so badass. And like the truth of the matter is that would be badass if any little girl was to do that.
Yeah.
Like, and like everyone's been there and had to face, I mean, that's what I liked about the relatable parallel to 80s culture. Because like like 80s sci-fi or 80s films like in general, that was a big like
There's the
kind of theme.
bullies.
There's the bullies. And a lot of people have been there, and they don't really have those characters anymore in real life.
No.
There's like the popular kids who just hate the people, but there's just some mean people out there, and I love like that was one of the parts that I loved about like these homages because it was like so clear and concise and like it's a wonderful life like like shit like the Christmas story I meant to say but I screwed that up. Take it out of post. No,
no, take it out of post. Don't worry about it. But that's why I was so quick to write off Steve.
Yeah,
Popular jock kid who just wanted to get in Nancy's pants, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and if this wasn't like supposed to be 80s-ish, then that would have just been the character. It would have just been that flat character.
Yeah, and instead they took him and ran with something. Like I didn't mind the two like older bully kids for the Losers Club because they fulfilled what they were doing. They didn't need to have that big arc, but at the same time, I'm really glad we got one out of Steve because that redemption arc was awesome.
Right, and like those people that like Steve was hanging out with, very much the flat characters, everything that you expected. So when that turned around, it was like, they're doing something new and original.
And that's what really sets this show apart. Is like they're doing what you expect out of a cliche 80s homage, and then twist it. And twist it. And you're like, okay, so I've seen X little kid has superpowers before, but Elle demands your attention. You kind of go, okay. And again, the only problem I had with it was that the Losers Club, the D&D crew, didn't have their moment.
Yeah.
They needed their moment where it was like, because they had it all set up like every time Elle does something big, she needs to recharge.
Right. But like even, go ahead.
No, and it just like, it comes back to that. Like, Elle's tired in the science room. We need to hold off the monster. We can't get the Bunsen burner going. Lucas, I'll go hold him off with the wrist rocket. You're going to die, you crazy fool. I'm like, just get that fireball ready kind of thing. Boom, boom, boom. Ultimately, it doesn't work, but they still had their moment. That's the only thing that was missing out of this was they didn't have a defined moment.
And it's kind of sad because, like, some of the weaker characters, like Nancy and Jonathan, like, not that they're weak characters, but they're not as prominent characters. They had their moment.
Yeah.
Nancy in the Upside Down, like, all these kind of little things. Nancy in the Upside Down.
Oh my God, I thought that was gonna be so cliche horror movie. Dumb bimbo gets killed scene. Thank God for letting her use her noggin.
Yeah. Girls can be smart, Bill. Did you know?
Well, I'm just, that's what I was being set up for because it was like 80s homage.
No,
and you're like, you're starting to like Nancy. She's a very likable character. And then she goes in the Upside Down and you're like, don't do it. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb. You're being dumb. You're being dumb. Don't do it.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. That's stupid.
Yeah. And then like you're there and it was a really good, terrifying moment.
Yeah. No, it was actually really, really scary.
Yeah, because you're just like, and then the one thing that blew me away when I knew it was going to be good is when Will, who was on screen for maybe like a grand total of 2 minutes in the first episode, does the most realistic acting I've ever seen about someone being nervous, like just shaking and trying to load a gun. You're like, thank you. I hope you're not dead.
Right.
So it's awesome. We're gonna cut to the end. Everyone's a happy ending kind of thing.
Rocks fall.
Everyone dies. They do this. They do this great thing where they jump ahead a month, and they're playing D&D, and they call out their own bullshit, and it's hilarious because like, and the campaign's done. And they're like, what do you mean the campaign's done? It's only been 10 hours. That's such bullshit. What about this plot line? What about this plot line?
They've clearly never played like a 22-hour zombie apocalypse D&D campaign.
No, God. No, but like they talk about like, well, what about the lost night? Clearly Elle, because she's disappeared, What about, the captured princess? Barb. What about the flowers in the cave, the slugs in the Upside Down? They make these little references and you go, oh, thank God that somebody got this.
Yeah.
And it just, oh, Jesus, if you haven't watched the show, the fuck is wrong with you? You've spent 40 minutes of spoiling the show for you.
Right. Like, you probably should have watched it already. Like, honestly, paused it when we said, listen to us.
It's like, we're not doing it justice is the problem.
And that's the thing is like, I wish I had more things to say, but I think it's just, it's fresh and new, and I don't have anything to compare it to for once. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like you can mention like the homages and everything, but it's not really
Doesn't
a
do it
compare.
justice.
It's not the same thing because a lot of the reasons why the '80s stuff was so cheesy is because it was new and like everything like that. This is something that was like purposefully made for the people who appreciate that art, and at the same time original on its own
Yeah.
so that if somebody like if some 16-year-old kid off the street who has never watched an 80s film in their entire life were to walk up, they'd probably also think like, well, this is a little weird, but
I'm
like
digging it, you know?
they would dig it and they like the story and they would like maybe it would pique their interest in looking up, like maybe they would be on the internet and say, hey, apparently this is what is ET, like, and like re-spark interest. And I think that's a really cool way to tackle that. And it's just, it was so genuine.
Yeah.
And like the kids, like, I freaking loved Dustin.
Yes.
Dustin's character, like forever Dustin. I love Dustin so much. Like, and like the thing is like for me, a lot of that it was like I just saw, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I saw like like thinking about like the way that like our parents were when they were children.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if they ever did like, same kind of thing that I get when I watch like, A Christmas Story. But I wish I could do it more justice. I wish there were more things that I could gush about. I wish I could pinpoint all the references that I really appreciated and all the hint hint nudge nudge. And I can't. You gotta watch it.
Yeah.
You got to.
Yeah. That's
You
just.
there's not a lot of good original television out there these days. It's all the same song and dance. And you gotta watch it. You got to.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Like, it stands on its own, and if you do know the homages, you're like, oh, that's awesome. But it does so well of being an homage, but being itself. And fucking Dustin, God, that guy was great. Like, he was the Goonies. He's like the Goonies character. Like, he was every Goonie wrapped into one.
He was a Goonie. No, he really was.
He should have said, Goonies never say die, motherfucker,
I know, right?
Like, he was just, he was great. He had every moment he needed to have. And he, God. Oh, so the plot, the big send-off plot is that Will is not okay.
Yeah.
What the shit? He's coughing up slugs.
They gotta set it up for another. But like, where are they gonna go with it? He's coughing up slugs and like stuff from the
upside down, and he can teleport there. Elle, Hopper's putting Eggos in the forest.
Can he?
He flashes to the upside down when he's in the when he's in the bathroom.
I thought maybe he was just having like a flashback.
No, I think he can go there. I think it's because there's something in his belly.
Ooh, I didn't think about that. And the Eggos in the forest, I was a little confused.
Well, I'm assuming he's thinking Elle will come back.
Does he not know that she kind of like died?
I don't know if she's dead.
I took it as she was dead.
I read it that she was dead, but when I saw it, I was like, I don't think she's dead.
You had hope.
I have hope.
You have hope.
Because they're bringing her back for season 2.
They gotta bring her back. She did such a good job.
She needs to have that sweet badass mohawk though when she comes back.
Is it? Yeah. So, Stranger Things season 2 is to be written by Stephen King. Do you want to talk about that at all?
No,
Does that excite you?
We'll save it for a podcast when we get a little closer. I wanna collect the information and we'll come back to it because.
Oh, we're gonna have the things that excite us.
Mm-hmm.
Like a regular podcast.
We'll do What the Hell is Stranger Things season 2 because it's awesome. I can't wait.
That's a really great idea for a podcast, Bill. I wonder where it came from.
I don't know. So, Stranger Things, it's awesome from start to finish. Everything is about it is great. It's just, besides for me, like the ending being a little too, like the last episode being a little too fast moving.
Yeah. Just because I think for me it was because I didn't want it to end.
Yeah, I didn't want it to end either. Fuck, we didn't even talk about Dr. Was it Byers or what his name is? Burns?
Oh, Captain Creepass.
Captain
Like,
Creepass, who I knew.
I just didn't like him. That's why I didn't talk about him.
Oh,
He
I
made me
didn't hate him.
uncomfortable, which is exactly how the character probably like
Should've
it's
been.
supposed to make you feel. So good job, you person that I didn't remember was in the show. Like
You nailed
you
it.
did it.
You
You
nailed it.
nailed it. Nailed
Nailed
it.
it. All right, we're gonna leave you with a little bit more of the opening soundtrack because that synth music is so good. We'll dig up Jess again before Game of Thrones comes back because
We'll find something. I wasn't invited to Ghostbusters.
We did a Ghostbusters in a podcast, a proper podcast.
Kate McKinnon's my favorite.
She was the worst.
Oh my God, no, Bill!
And with that, we're leaving it on a cliffhanger.
What?
Say goodbye.
Bye? Bill, what? You thought she